How you know when it's time to get a divorce? Remember the feeling of trying to make this decision like it was yesterday. I remember sitting there, I was in my front room and I was watching Mel Robbins on YouTube. And it was crazy because that day, her video that came out was, should I stay for my kids? I'm not saying that I took that video as like, oh, that was my answer, I'm supposed to get a divorce. No. That video made me realize that I was basing all of my decisions on staying out of fear. I knew in my heart that it was the right thing to do, but I was terrified. I was afraid of losing friends. I was afraid of losing my ex-husband's family, losing his friendship. I was afraid of how I was going to provide for my kids. I was going to affect them, how it was going to hurt them. I was afraid of meeting somebody ever again. I was afraid of being alone. I was afraid of letting go of what was making me secure. The truth is, no one can ever tell you if it's the right time for you to get a divorce. That decision comes from you and knowing in your heart what is right. That's not to say that the decision wasn't hard and it didn't hurt like hell, because it did. No matter what you do, it's gonna be hard. Whether you stay and work on your marriage, that's hard. Or you leave and you get a divorce and you have to start over, that's hard. You choose your heart. Trust yourself and make the decision out of love and not fear, and you'll do the right thing. You're gonna be okay. And I believe in you. You got this. You can do hard things. Have a great day.
I haven't slept with my husband in probably a year. Unintentionally, probably 4 or 5 months. Intentionally, probably 8 or 9 months. And that really gets a lot of people upset and causes them to jump to a lot of conclusions. And when I say sleeping together, I mean literally lying unconscious next to him. We've been sleep divorced for about a year, intentionally 7 months, unintentionally a full year. So people ask all the time, like, how did this happen? What do you do? Like, and they honestly, their first thought is that we're unhappy and our marriage is on, the downward spiral. And that's not the case. You should be prioritizing your sleep. Have you ever not slept for an extended period of time? Because this thing is real fucking terrifying when you don't. It's really dangerous for you, for your family. And I experienced it firsthand, how fucking dangerous and terrifying it is when you don't sleep for long stretches of time. So I had to prioritize my sleep, and that meant not sleeping with my husband. And that's just the way it is. Because for me to be a functioning adult, for me to be an active mother and wife, I have to prioritize my sleep, and that means sleeping alone. And you know what? We're fine. My husband is fine. I am fine. My marriage is fine. We don't need your pity. We don't need your sorrow. Everything's okay. If you sleep great next to your spouse, wonderful, love that for you. If you don't, that's okay. Doesn't mean you love your spouse any less, doesn't mean that your marriage is on the rocks, doesn't mean you're headed for divorce. It simply means that you two are confident in your marriage and in your relationship with each other, to know that lying unconscious next to each other for 8 hours a night is not going to be the thing that breaks you. And if it is, your marriage was shit to begin with.
One of the most interesting parts about getting divorced young is that all of a sudden, all of these people that you thought were happily married start coming out of the woodwork, and they're like, hey, how did you know it was time? Hey, what was your breaking point? Hey, what advice would you give me? And I love that. It's like all of a sudden, all of the secrets and like the weird pretending that you're happy falls aside, and fucking love that. Yes, come to me. I will be your emotional support divorce doula anytime you need.
Go spend a week together completely disconnected. Go do that. That's your fucking therapy. That's your shit. How'd you feel? Where were you really at? Fuck everything. Fuck the journals. Fuck writing shit down. Fuck everything everybody's told you. Just go literally spend a week together, completely disconnected from the fucking world. Don't talk to anybody. Don't bring your notes. Don't bring what your therapist told you. Just fucking go spend time together. Period. End of story. Are you better or are you worse? If you're worse, great. Call it a day. Be done. Call it a fucking day. Are you better? Did you like that more than you like this? Yes, great. More of that then. And if that's to answer your question, then what was that? That wasn't an escape. That wasn't that wasn't like we're leaving our reality. Our reality is what we make it every day. This fucking warehouse, this office, our home, our everything is what we make it every day. And if it sucks, then we change that shit.
My husband asked for a divorce today.
Y'all, sad news, but I don't know, some of y'all probably already knew, but I didn't take it to Facebook because I don't know, I got too much family members and everything on Facebook, so I don't know. But anyway, as y'all all know, I'm married to D. And he asked for a divorce today. Am I gonna cry? No, I'm not gonna cry. But is it gonna hurt? Yep, but he asked for a divorce. I'm not gonna cry. I'm gonna go about my business. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. First off, he said it's not working out.
Hold on. A divorce? What are you talking about?
You said you want a divorce.
I said I won't buy you no more Starbucks. I ain't say nothing about no divorce.
You said I want a divorce.
I said I wasn't buying you no more Starbucks. That's what I said.
My husband asked me for a divorce last night, and how it all transpired was over dinner. I had just finished making dinner, and I said, okay, dinner is ready, come and get it. I got myself a bowl, and I sat at the table. About 5 minutes later, he got up and went over to the pot. He looked in it, and then he turned to the fridge, and he pulled out some ground meat, and he started cooking the ground meat. I said, is something wrong? And he looked at me and he said, that doesn't look very good. Food, can you tell me why you wouldn't like it? Because it has everything that you would like in it. And he said, it just doesn't look very good. And so at this point, I'm like, are you frustrated or something? Is it me? Is it something else? He said, honestly, I am a little frustrated with you. It all sounded like nonsense to me. I'm like, what is happening? We get in a fight. I'm like, why are you being such a douchebag? And eventually he just said, I think that we need to get a divorce. At this point, I'm like, well, I don't really want to be married to someone like this anyways, so cool. And I agreed. And we had to go to our son's field trip. In our school, we have to drive the kids. We don't have a bus for them. We drove him to his field trip. We both were chaperoning. He drove one car, I drove mine. We didn't really speak. My son drove with me. So my son wanted to drive with him on the way home. And we were also driving other kids as well. So while we're on the field trip, when we're getting ready to leave, my husband loses my son and also loses 3 of the boys. He had 1 boy remaining with him, and he lost all the other ones. So I'm trying to help him find all of these kids, and we finally end up finding them. And so we're driving back, and on the side of the road as I'm driving back, I see my husband take his truck and drive it off the edge into a pond. I kid you not. Drives his truck off the edge into a pond, and I come to a halt. I jump out of my car, I run and I jump into the pond, and I unbuckle all of the children's seatbelts and I get them out. Luckily it wasn't very deep, it was something that they could stand in, but I was just like, what is going on? And I was like going up to him to shake him and ask him what is happening, and then as I was gonna do that, I woke up. That was the worst dream ever.
I swear I will never understand what I did to deserve this.
You'd win.
What I did to deserve like this much disrespect and this much hurt. If my only husband can't love me, it can't respect me. I was just like, I just feel like I'm mourning. I'm not only mourning him, and like mourning the person that he was, but I'm mourning the family that we built, and I'm mourning the children that I thought I was gonna have, and I'm mourning the mom I thought I was going to be.
Toes get the toes to State Farm Mobile.
In your head, so Mother, I'm coming home. I follow you into the park, through the jungle, through the dark. God, I never loved one like you. Boats and boats and waterfalls, alleyways and payphone calls. I'll be here never out with you. We laugh until we think we'll die, barefoot on a summer night. Nothing new is sweeter than with you.
So I heard we are showing off our divorce glow-ups.
Desperado, sitting in a old Monte Carlo.
Blow that piece of junk out of the sky!
Exactly.
Jeddah, you're still holding on! Let go! Hey, Bess! Supposed to feed the rats on schedule or they get sick! Hey, guys! Traitor! Sucks!
Did you know that there are 4 behaviors that if you do them in your relationship, they predict breakup or divorce at the rate of over 90%? It's true. The research done to find these 4 behaviors was done by Dr. John Gottman of the Gottman Institute at the Seattle Love Lab. If you've never heard of him, he's a giant in the field of relationship psychology, and he's amazing. So the 4 behaviors are contempt, where you have kind of outward disgust for your partner. You roll your eyes, you groan, you just make gestures that show you have contempt for them. The second one is criticism, where you're constantly criticizing your partner. The third is stonewalling, where you basically won't even listen to your partner's comments. You just put up a stone wall. And the fourth is defensiveness, where you don't listen, you don't take any responsibility. You just defend, and tell your partner they're crazy for thinking the things they do.
Okay. I know you're just trying to make a funny video or whatever. So, totally cool. Here's the thing, though. To the women that actually truly believe this. When we get divorced, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of us struggle with whether or not to change our name, and it comes down to a lot of factors. I came out of a 20-year relationship. That was my name for 20 years. It wasn't like this was just some fling. So there's some respect there for the former relationship and whatnot. Two, a lot of us keep it for our kids. Most of the moms I know really struggled because our kids wanted us to have the same name. It's not about having anything to do with our ex. We don't want him. You can keep him.
I prayed to God that he would let you marry me. And then I also prayed to God that he would help me get over you.
I've been married for 12 years, and in my marriage I've gone through a separation, which I've talked about on my TikTok. If you don't know, you can go back, and I talked about how my marriage fell apart and what it taught me. But the one lesson that I wanted to share that I've learned after going through the separation with my husband, and we're still together, is that I've realized that you can do everything on your own. Like, I had this theory or like this, constant need of certain things that I just didn't feel like I could do. Like, when we went through the separation, it made me realize how dependent we become in a marriage, right? Because we both start relying on each other for certain things. And I think that is conducive and that is good for a marriage. But I think we should also adopt the mentality that we are capable of doing everything on our own, because we must learn to do things on our own, because it teaches us, one, things that we don't know how to do, and two, it builds self-confidence and independence, which I think women lack, because we've been grown up, especially in certain cultures, coming from a South Asian cultures, we are told that our independence is very short, right? Like, go through school, and then right after that you get married, and then you have a husband, and then he takes care of you. So that's like ingrained in our heads, in our minds for so many years, and so much conditioning has happened around that. Yes, you can rely on support. Support versus need, support versus dependence are two very different things. My husband very much supports me. But after the separation, I've also made it very clear that I am not dependent. I'm not dependent on you for anything. I have survived on my own, and I can survive and continue to survive on my own. And the only way I learned that is going through a separation. Yes, I want a strong support system, but I do not depend and rely on anyone, because I am an independent and strong woman that can pick herself back up when she falls.
Number 5, moving out of the house is bad for you. Your wife does not want you to know that if you move out, it's going to cause trouble as far as custody, parenting time, child support, who lives in the house, who isn't living in the house, maybe even who gets the house, who doesn't get the house, who's controlling what bills are being paid, what's going on, the whole deal. It's all avoidable problems if you had just stayed put. She does not want you to know this as a divorce is happening. Even if you do not have children, moving out can cause you a lot of grief. You got to decide who's going to pay the bills, what's expected of you once you're gone. How are you going to pay for another place to live and deal with a whole other set of bills, and what's going to go on at the house after you've moved? Who's going to take care of things, who's cutting the grass, who's shoveling the snow, name it. You got to try to figure all that out. So the answer is to figure things out before you leave. If your wife wants you out, use that as leverage. Use it as a negotiating tool to get what you need to get things going forward.
On the day my divorce was final, I'll never forget what my ex said to me. He looked me right in the eyes and he said, "You're going to regret this. You're going to get 6 months down the road and you're going to regret divorcing me." And you know what? He's right. I did have regrets, but probably not the kind of regrets he thought I would. And while I don't think it's healthy to dwell on them, I do think it's healthy to recognize them and learn from them so that we don't repeat them. So with that being said, here's what my regrets actually looked like. I regret not listening to my intuition. I regret gaslighting myself. I regret not giving myself enough credit. I regret doing what I thought was best for everybody else but me. I regret not making my happiness and well-being more of a priority. And lastly, I regret not being strong enough to leave sooner. And though making the decision to get divorced was the hardest decision I've ever had to make, and it took me a long time to get there, I've never once regretted it.
If I can offer you any piece of advice going through a divorce is, and I really hope that someone takes this, you have to have realistic expectations for what you're about to go through. I'm not talking about the legal aspects of a divorce. I'm talking about the emotional aspects of a divorce. The separation, if you have kids, having to deal with that, just grieving the death of what you thought you were going to have that you're not having anymore. And this is regardless of you initiating the divorce or someone initiating it with you. It is a process to feel whole again. And it takes time, and you have to be super gentle and patient with yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. You could avoid all of this and just jump into the next relationship, but your problems are still going to follow you. Your insecurities, your low self-esteem, all of that. So just do the work and be patient.
When you feel that tearing feeling, which is actually what happens when spiritual separation is now forced, ask any divorced person, no matter how much you guys fought, when the divorce was going through, you felt as if an arm or a leg was being torn off. And that's because in Western society and in much of our society, when you are marrying, you are not taught that God is serious about the caveat of one flesh. That a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. A process of becoming fused into a new entity. Here's my left hand, here's my right hand, and here is the new entity. When you are separating, there is a tearing of that spiritual entity that God made in the covenant. And that's why it hurts so bad. That's why you try to fill the gap with sex. That's why you try to fill the gap with porn. That's why you pick up a drinking habit that used to be something that you last did in college when you were 18 years old. All of a sudden now you're drinking heavily because the pain is too much. The wound is there, and only Jesus can heal that wound. Only Jesus can actually take you back into being the left hand or the right hand where you don't feel like a ripped and a torn thing. But there's not enough fathers. We don't have enough fathers in the faith. So they don't bother to tell the people the journey back to wholeness. So people go and sit in therapy for 16 years and remarry 44 times and they can't heal. And so it goes.
How y'all doing?
If you are in the middle of a divorce or even just thinking about divorce, here is something you have to consider. I was at lunch today with a woman who's married 44 years, and she was vacillating about divorce. And I asked her this one question, and it made her stop. And she just had her mouth open. Just think about, this is something I've just recently had to think about. If your spouse that you're maybe not getting along with or just been waiting for years to divorce, if they got sick, would you stay and take care of them? And would you be happy to do so? Because if you're in love with somebody, you're happy to take care of them. But if you're not, then you're resentful to take care of them. So ask yourself that. If you are married right now and your spouse gets really sick, would you be willing to be happy to take care of them? Not because everybody else thought you should, not because it looks good, but would you be genuinely happy to take care of them? Let me know in the comments. I can't wait to hear.
How do you get to year 20 and want to call it quits? And that was initiated by you. It's interesting because in today's day and age, 80 to 85% of divorces are initiated by women. It's interesting that you wanted to do that 31 years ago. So what did you face 31 years ago where you said, I'm done?
She faced my complacency. Like, this is cool. I don't need to work anymore at loving her. I don't want to work. I don't need to work anymore at making her feel important. I don't need to work anymore at making her feel respected. She has desires and visions and dreams, but I don't have to be concerned about that because she's there every day. And so it reached the perfect storm. And when she finally just said, I've had enough. See, you have to understand that we change. And so she had studied in Europe, studied in Paris, France, and so she's now, okay, I've been exposed to some things, and I got some things I want to make happen. Oh, girl, don't worry about that. And kept on moving. And pretty soon it got to a place like, you're not hearing me, you're not paying any attention to me, and I'm unfulfilled, I'm unappreciated, I'm disrespected. So let me get out of this. And so that's what happens. It happens at different times in marriages.
Yeah.
Just trust me, you'll be fine. And when I'm back in Chicago, I feel it. Another version of me, I was in it.
Divorce is harder on men. People do not think that divorce is harder on men because men move on quicker. But what they don't realize is that these men are grieving. They don't have a social network to talk to and to be supportive of them, so they're moving on. Men bottle up their emotions, and that results in depression and anxiety. Generally, they don't have a lot of people to talk to about this stuff, and they're not able to really express themselves and talk about the terrible feelings that they have. Generally, men's health declines. Many men self-medicate, turn to alcohol and drugs because they don't have a support system. And then they rush into new relationships because they don't want to be alone. Now, not only are they grieving over one bad relationship, now they have two bad relationships. And then there's the kids that they feel that they've lost. Their time sharing, their visitation is not always 50%, and they feel that they've lost touch with their children.
This is what happens when your wife leaves. Brand new truck. Hey neighbor. I live alone. It's my clothes. Really made the house nice.
Here are the 3 reasons I divorced my wife. Number 1, when I informed her that our neighbor died, she said, "Who, Ray?" Not appropriate to cheer at that moment. Number 2, when I told her my favorite month was coming up, she said, "Why'd you lie?" I didn't. Number 3 is when my dad passed away. He was at the hospital. I couldn't make it before his death. And when I got there, she told me that the doctor said that my dad was pronounced dead. There's no way I've been mispronouncing it my entire life. But she kept defending the doctor. And you know what, to be fair, I should have known. The first time I asked her out, I was like, "You want to grab some drinks?" And she said, "How about 10 tomorrow?" That's way too many.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm about to give you a free piece of legal advice that's going to change your life. If you're going through a divorce, one of the most important dates is going to be date of separation. The reason for that is after the date of separation, any money that your spouse earns is theirs to keep and theirs alone. Now, I'm not encouraging this or I'm not telling you to do this, but what I am going to say is in the event that you start going on dates with your spouse again, canoodling, snuggling, doing all of that stuff, then you can possibly contest the date of separation and in turn be entitled to that money. You're welcome.